Welcome to Confident Growth, the podcast for people who are passionate about personal growth and productivity. I'm here today with a very delightful person, my friend Zachary Young. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you.
Welcome
Thanks for
to the
having me.
pod. Yes, I want to also say that you are my first client who has come on the podcast.
Okay.
So how I know Zachary, how I know you is that you first came to me for coaching, and then we completed coaching, and then we still kept in touch because I found you to be such a source of great advice to do with business. And in fact, I started coming to you for coaching and advice, right? And asking you about certain strategies because I know that you are an expert in helping businesses scale. Has this always been your passion?
I guess so, because it's kind of a game to me, growing businesses and all. It's just different topics, different kind of businesses. So every time a client comes to me to try to grow their business, I think of it as a new game for me to scale and score more points. And the money, the revenue, that's just keeping the score kind of things. So yeah, I enjoy doing all of these kind of things.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey and some of the highlights in your journey towards being a scaling expert today?
Okay, so actually how I started it was quite interesting because I always want, some people became an accidental entrepreneur and things like that. For me, since young, I always wanted to be one because my parents, the typical Asian parents, they'll tell you, study, be a lawyer, be a doctor. That if you're a doctor in future, I have some heart attack, you can look out for me and things like that. So I'm like, okay, what's the point of this? But okay, let me try. And then after a while, I realized that, hey, even if I become a cardiologist, but if you have a brain tumor, I can't operate on you and things like that. Or if you have a heart attack and I'm studying neurosurgery stuff, then I also can't help you. So I was like, what's the biggest thing that I can do to help them? Then I realized that actually, if you become rich, you have enough money, you can just hire that doctor, that lawyer, that, you can hire all this. So I was like, so money is the biggest empowerment, the biggest resource. So I was like, okay, how do I earn more money? Then I realized all the people who makes the most money are business people, entrepreneurs. So that got me started on that path. Like, okay, I'm going to study business when I grow up.
Okay, so you studied business in university?
In university. In fact, there was a point where everyone's trying to figure out what course should I go for. For me, it's business. It's just which university, but it's always been business for me. So that's how I got started on this entrepreneurial journey. Since young, all the while. Then it became a game to me. Then I just started growing more and more businesses along the way.
Yeah. So what are your major milestones of businesses that you grew?
Okay, the first major milestone was actually, I would say the first highlight was because most of the times, right, when they say you're going to be a good business person, you need to be able to sell. So I went to become an agent to sell insurance. They was like, this is the best test of whether you can be a good salesperson or not.
Yes.
And I got enough money. I'm like, okay, cool. I want to start my own business right now. So with that amount of capital, I went out to start. So my first major milestone was my first business, which I started and it flopped.
When was this? How old were you?
I was 28, I think, 27, 28.
Wow, that's still very young.
Yeah. So once I graduated, I started working, hustling to get that capital to start my first business. So, I figured if I can sell insurance, I can sell anything, right? Everything else is more sexy, in my opinion. So I started selling. Then I realized that, hey, I could sell, but I couldn't get any, after the first 1 or 2 months, I couldn't get any more sales in because I didn't have leads.
Right.
Then that's where I learned the second most important skill of business, which is marketing.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people start business, they think that they can sell, then after that, not enough leads, and then it closed down. So after that, I realized my first milestone was my first business failure. So after that, I actually closed that business and I went to work in a startup, a marketing startup, which taught me how to market. And I think in that marketing startup it was a wonderful platform for me because it was in a marketing agency or marketing startup, you get to meet many other businesses. Yeah. And then you start to market for them, then you start to tweak and you start to kind of help them sell, help to adjust their operations. And during that startup, I actually ended up skilling a lot of business indirectly. I can do this, I can help you in your operations, help you in your finance, help you in your sales. And then by then, 4.5 years later, I was like, okay, let me come out again to do this on my own. So I left that startup and I started my own skilling consultancy. And then started skilling. So that's my second business.
Right.
And that one, thankfully, it picked up.
Yes.
I managed to find one client, which I eventually became the CEO of. And I managed to scale them from 1 million to 10 million within a year. And that was during COVID.
Within 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, what were the secrets?
The secrets are...
Which industry was this first?
This in the education industry. Education, financial, workshops kind of industry.
Yes.
So there were a lot of coaches that was teaching people how to invest, or how to do some particular skill set. So many of them were kind of undercharging themselves, and they didn't know how to do the whole, I would say, the whole funnel, the whole marketing, operations, sales, finance. So one of the first things I did for them, because how did I grow them from 1 mil to 10 mil, right? The joke I always tell people is, the secret is just add a zero behind your prices. Okay, so everyone was like, yeah, easier said than done and all. But true, I just tell them, okay, you just gotta do this. At the start, yes, they had their doubts. Remember, they took 12 months to get to a mil. Then within working with me, the first 3 months, they got to their first mil. So they were like, oh, we shortcut this whole process. Then 1 month later, they got their second mil. Then after that, as they better and better, within 1 week, they got 1 mil. So by the June, they were like 5 mil already. Then we just continued the process and they hit 10 mil at the end of the year.
Okay, but surely it's not that simple as just adding a zero, right? So like, of course, one part of it was the amending the pricing on the product. But like, what were the other things that you needed to do to scale that business?
So actually, it is as simple as giving what I call a rocket offer, a rocket package. Because I feel most businesses, they kind of underprice themselves. They're like, oh, maybe people won't buy, or they're like, am I really worth that much? So they kind of discount themselves. So what I did for them was, I told them, hey, you can keep your current pricing, but let's create more tiers, more packages. And one of the tiers I created was what I called, I nicknamed the rocket package, the highest price. And so they were selling something at $3,000. Then they ended up selling it at $30,000. Then eventually it became $50,000 and even $80,000.
Wow.
Which people bought, by the way. So that was one. Then after that, once we put this out, we had to obviously change a lot of their mindsets, because their salespeople were also kind of scared to sell this kind of price points.
Yes,
they kind of
it's a different kind of skill to sell high ticket items.
Yeah, kind of like tremble when you're talking to it, that kind of thing. So I was like, no, there's a mindset that they need to change. So I was trying to guide them in sales as well to change. Then once it worked out, and because you have a higher price point, you had better margins.
Wait, I want to double click on this sales training piece. So were you like, because I come from equity sales background as well, and then you always watch these like Wolf of Wall Street, like rah the sales, or like Glenn Ross is another famous one where there were all these dramatic scenes like coffee is for closers, you don't deserve coffee unless you. How do you manage to train or hype up the sales team? Like, did you have a sales script? Did they watch you make the calls? Did you sit on the desk and like motivate them in the morning? Like, how do you do it?
I see. So actually, there is not so much drama when it comes to closing. Honestly, I would say actually a lot of the closing comes because they were doing coaching and speaking business. So a lot of the closing actually came before that. So by the time it reaches the consultants to close, they were kind of just picking up the orders. Just like when, by the time you walk into Hourglass to buy a Rolex, you kind of decided you want that Rolex already. So it's one of the things I did for their business was to reposition them as a premium option. Then we also, of course, reposition the product to make sure that, hey, this is what is desirable. It is a premium product. It is what people want. And then their perceived value of that training became much higher as well. And of course, we also did the standard things. We show testimonials, we show results. When people see that, hey, this result is worth $50,000, of course they'll be happy to pay. But then we reverse script a little bit. We say, hey, even if you want to buy, this is not for sale. This is only by only. So even if you want to buy, which by the way, I'm not just saying this to as a scare tactic, but I say that there are people who are actually rejected. Like they were like, I want to pay $50,000 a year. I'm like, no, sorry, you're not the type we are looking for. So the interesting thing about sales is the more you reject people, the clearer you are about who you're looking for, the more people want to buy from you.
I cannot agree more. And I learned that as well. Like in fact, for my Deep Human Club, I had a message, or I chose to message like, the Deep Human Club is not for you if you're looking for therapy, a one-to-one thing. It's not for you if you blah, 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 And after it's not for you who are blah, blah, blah. It is for you if you... Yeah, but like when I realized that, I niche down and I say that this is very specifically designed for this kind of person, then actually it really counters a lot of objections to why should I buy it sort of thing. Which based on identity lah.
Yes, so you always tell people you don't sell a product, you sell an identity. And people, when they're for identity, the amount they are willing to pay is humongous. It's a thing, you see.
Okay, say more about this because it's very deep.
Let me tell you a story rather. So, very interestingly, I'm very into drinking tea. So,
I know, and you've given me some amazing tea. In fact, you eat like a tea dealer or something. Exactly, you went to introduce Greg to this Alishan tea, and now he's hooked on it.
Oh, yeah, good to hear that. So, so the funny thing was that I discovered this tea thing in. This guy sold tea in a very interesting way in KL.
Yeah.
So I was just walking through a tea shop and pavilion and things like that. So there was a lot of tea. I was like, oh, what is this tea? Then there's a lot of tea, so it's very hard to buy, very hard to make a decision. Then among all the tea on the tea shelves, there was two in these two wooden boxes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, what's with this tea? Then he told me that, oh, this tea is all the award-winning tea. You know, they won this award, which to me is, as a marketer, awards are worthless because it's every other. You can create your own award. Yes. Whiskey has award. Wine has award. So after a while, you kind of just get immune to all this. Then I was like, okay, what's this box then? Then he told me this box the tea in this box are the tea from the 4 famous tea bush. They call it the 4大名丛, and it's dedicated to the emperor. Then I was like, wow, okay, you tell me more. Then I said, yeah, it's only the emperor can drink this kind of thing. Then he's like, oh yeah, so it's tea you give to very important guests. Then as you're saying all this, then I'm like, wow, what kind of tea would the emperor drink? How will it taste like? I kind of sold myself. Then I'm like, I'll come back for this. Then so after that, I walk off. After finishing my dinner, I still came back. I'm like, can you tell me more about the emperor tea? So I realized that he actually sold me the identity, like, if you like to be an emperor or you like to drink the tea of the rich and famous. So I realized that, wow, the identity, you're selling the identity. So that tea became, you can price the tea at any price. Then I was like, okay, I just want to drink it because I want to take on the identity.
Yes, because he didn't try to sell you on the features. Like, this tea we give 30% extra, and then you see like the fragrance is 15%, whatever. Because
the health benefits of the tea, then the kind of thing is just features. But when he sold that identity, I was like, okay, I want to drink whatever the guy is having, whatever the emperor from the previous dynasties have drank, I want a cup of that.
It's the same. I watched this video from this guy, Dan Lok. You know who he is? He's quite famous and he does all these like selling high ticket item things. He has one YouTube video where he holds this umbrella, and it's like, oh, this umbrella is damn expensive. It's don't know how many hundreds of pounds umbrella, And then he says, just listen to the sound the umbrella makes, and the umbrella makes like a very weighty kind of sound. And he's talking about the umbrella, and then you're also thinking like, wow, what kind of classy person would buy this umbrella? And really what you're buying is like a feeling, an identity. It's like, I am the kind of person that appreciates heritage. I'm the kind of person that appreciates like finer things in life. And that is why people like me buy umbrellas like this. Or like what Seth Godin always likes to say, like people like us do things like this. Yeah, so it's really kind of like creating that kind of vibe. And so after you learned about that, were some of the changes that you made? Because education company sometimes can be a bit hard to get people like to form an identity of what I'm a learner or I'm a... Yeah, how did you do that?
So what happened was that previously, because the education company was, but it's a great education company, it was teaching people how to invest because financial literacy is quite not very common and schools don't teach. So they're trying to teach, then they'll try like, oh, this is how you can invest. So some of the marketing messages, it was tailored in a way where you can invest with only $100 a day. I mean, the idea was to make it as easy as possible, but sometimes it inevitably attract people who are trying to get rich quick. And people like that. So I had to change it to... And the interesting thing is the people who want to learn how to invest, sometimes they do have quite a bit amount of capital, but they just don't know how to do it. They earn a lot. They work very hard. So after that, I was like, hey, I told them this, the method is, this is what millionaires like billionaires like Warren Buffett, this is the Warren Buffett way of investing. This is how fund managers will construct their portfolio. Giving it that personality, that legitimacy in it, as well as like, hey, this is how a billionaire would structure their portfolio. Would you like to learn how a billionaire structure their portfolio? So immediately they were like, hey, I'm not just learning how to invest from any Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm learning how to invest like how the professionals do it. So by doing this, immediately they're like, hey, I want that. So it ended up, what happened was like, as I mentioned, we increased the price points. And by increasing these price points, you also realize that the people you reach out to are of a certain caliber. So we had people, I remember, I met some of them as well. So we had people with like $30 million. They were like, hey, can you teach me how to invest? So you reach different kind of people. And when we teach them how to invest, helping a person with $30 million to make a 20% gain on their portfolio versus helping a person who only has $10,000 and make the same skill set. Both I teach them, give them a 20% return on their portfolio. But of course, the person with the 30 million is so much more thankful and values me much more as well and pays me much more because the quantum amount I deliver, the results I deliver for them is so much higher.
Yes.
Yeah, but same skill. I just took my skill and applied it to the right target market.
You chose the part of the market that made the most sense for you very strategically.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to ask you also, because I've noticed this phenomenon. Actually, people expect a lot more from me for a low price product than from a very high price product. So like my clients who give me the 6-digit deals, they're like, Crystal, the PO is coming. You just send over, and then on that day, you just show up and do your thing, right? And it's like that.
Yes.
Those are the clients that are the high price. They have no time. They are very, very busy people. If they pay such a premium, it's that they have trust in you and they want you to do your thing.
Yes.
They don't want to get in the way. Whereas the clients that pay a very low sum of money, the ones that squeeze me, were the ones that conversely will be like, I'm making such a huge investment in you. I give out so much money to you. Can you please do a dry run? Do like 10 meetings and then show me again. Then let's revise it again, whatever. And I'm like, how come like the lower prices are so much more work than the higher prices? Is this like true to what you experience?
Say yes. Generally, I mean, a lot of people have this perception where, these people pay me a lot, they expect a lot from me. Actually, I think what you found out is the opposite,
It's
right?
the opposite.
The people who pay more, usually they have an end goal in mind. As long as you can hit it, they just go ahead, they trust you.
Yeah.
But it's the people that pay a little bit of, not a little bit, smaller amounts of money, yet they have a lot of expectation.
Because it means a lot to them as a percentage of their whole,
So that's why I prefer to work with people who are able to afford the higher price points. But I would say, so generally when people ask me what to do, then I'm just like, my answer to them is just don't work with these people, or work with them on a kind of level which you're comfortable with, which is like maybe on the online one-to-many mass kind of thing. So I don't have to interact with them so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, how I've done it is that I, of course, want to serve everyone as much as I can, but I make a lot of price differentiation. So there's a lot of free content I give, which is like, weekly AMA or even this podcast or whatever it is, free career workshops. All of this is free. You can go and attend any of this. But if I'm getting, paid to customize something and it's like really about what I stand for, then I tend to go after that that high-end part of the market as well.
Yeah, and I think it's more enjoyable as well. It's more enjoyable to serve these people, and I feel mentally also more relaxing. Yeah,
I feel like having that two-tier approach really frees me out because I feel like there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And also for me, I feel like what's authentic to myself is that I've always been in that world. I was in investment banking, so dealing with institutions, and then, I was dealing with institutional sales and all of that. So I am quite used to dealing with more sophisticated investors or kind of pitching myself at more of a high end of the product spectrum rather than, I don't know how to do like fast food or fast fashion or things like that. I just think it takes a different kind of person to scale up a kind of more mass offering. And you need to know yourself, have the self-awareness to see like what are you good at.
I would say that actually, right, if you're talking, I mean, many of your audience are also entrepreneurs as well. So I usually tell people who are scaling, if possible, always try to start off at the higher first.
Yes.
And then when you have more margins, more capital, more comfortable, when you're more comfortable, you have a more comfortable team, then you can serve the mass market. Because if you start off at the mass market, chances are you're dealing with a lot of volume, a lot of work, your margins are lower. It usually burns you out, which is why a lot of entrepreneurs are burnt out. So there was this video from Alex Hormozy. He talked about this very well. He talked about how Tesla started off selling the expensive car first, the Roadster, right? So they serve the top first, and because Tesla, they serve the top, they are branded as, this is the Tesla as a premium brand. So after that, then they slowly introduced more cars and that got cheaper and cheaper. So eventually, using the money they made from the Tesla Roadster, the sports car, right, they could innovate and kind of come out with cheaper models so that eventually EV is for everyone. But had they reversed the order where they create an EV for everyone, I don't think anyone want to buy a Tesla, because the Tesla branding will have been there already at the bottom. So usually I tell people, if you're going to start at the top, and then when you have the margins, you can give free content, you're comfortable, you can give the free content. But if you start off giving free content, you may not make enough money to scale and grow your business.
And you can only have that kind of abundance mindset if you really have enough, right? I mean, that's why as an investor, as an ex-banker like me, I always look at profit margins. And even when I started off my business as well, I'm like, okay, I purposely choose this kind of consulting, leadership training business because when Greg and I first came out, it's like 95% profit margin. So it's like I get hired by companies literally to show up and speak. There is no like inventory or warehousing or space or cost or any other thing, and Greg and I did that for 5 years by our, by the two of ourselves, and it was like such a great business. But I also feel like choosing starting with the business model, looking at the margins of the business that you're about to go in is so important. And like for me, the last business I would ever want to go into is businesses where the costs are very high and the margins are very thin.
Find a business model that is profitable first. Of course, all business models do have a cap to a certain amount, right? I mean, especially for service-based businesses. But I think to start off in a service-based business gives you the most margins, like what I mentioned, because there's no overheads, there's no product, there's no inventory.
And also the other thing I think it's important to consider when you're starting a business is barriers to entry. And like, what is your, right? So for a lot of people, they choose something which has very low barriers to entry. Like, I'm going to set up a nail salon, or I'm going to set up a whatever it is. But like, it's very hard to differentiate yourself. Whereas I feel like in the service industry, with your personality, you can quickly differentiate yourself and command really high margins. The problem with the service industry is scaling. As you know. So Zach, I'm going to come to that. Since you're the scaling king, one part which you taught me, which I came to you for advice with, was about pricing. And at first, when I started this new business, Deep Human Club, I was like very confused. Like, how much should I price? When I did the research on all my whatever products were in the market, in the first place, something like what I envisaged didn't really exist. Like a personal growth club didn't exist. There were lots of social clubs or retreats or personal growth, whatever courses or workshops, but there wasn't like a club. So it was a bit hard. But when I pull all this universe of comparables to see that on one hand, there are people who have kind of subscription models that are very cheap. So like maybe $25 a month or like $50 a month. And then there's all the other end of the spectrum. There's people who are charging like $100,000 for like a sales sort of like mentorship course. What do you think is the secret sauce of making people confident enough to charge a very high price?
That's a good question. I would say after meeting a bunch of people, also convincing them to increase their price, I keep coming back to this. And I realized that, there's this movie that's based on a book called Perks of Being a Wallflower. Emma Watson starred in the movie remake of it or something like that. And there is this quote inside that says that we accept the love we think we deserve. And in business, if I were to rephrase it for the business context, right, it feels like we accept the price we think we deserve. So a lot of the price, whatever price strategy or price, how to charge high, right, a lot of it is, I feel it's an internal battle. Like, how much do you think you're worth in the first place? So there are, I mean, like, I think you're worth a lot. You can charge way higher as well. Sorry to all the deep human people, but yeah, you can definitely
you hate me on now. Zachary, stop telling her to raise your prices.
You see, you can charge higher if as long as you're like, hey, this is what I'm worth. Yeah, sometimes people don't know it, or they need someone to show them, or they need to compare themselves with other people. They're like, hey, if that person can do it, I can do it as well.
Yes.
So a lot of it is, I would say, your own dealing with your own your valuation of yourself.
Would you also say that it has to do with the people that you hang out with? Because
Yes,
I
for sure.
notice
Yeah.
something about me. I have a lot of exposure to people. And when I hang around with people, those people whom I know who seem to be struggling, then my mood will be very impacted because I hear them say like, wow, business very hard lah, very pai-tat, economy very bad. And then I will instinctively want to, oh shit, maybe I'll lower my prices. Whereas when I hang out with those who are very successful and they're killing it, they will be like telling me, oh Crystal, this is your time. You should go for it. You should raise it. So I actually found out that a lot of it depends on who I am exposed to.
So your circle is very important. And I realized that there's this circle that is, let's say, the mass market circle. Yeah, then the mass market circle, the prices are always very, very low. Okay, but then if you hang out with the premium market circle, let's say if you hang out with the son of the LVMH guy, you probably will be starting to price things at that level as well. So so it's really they have self-belief or the way they see themselves and the way they value themselves. So they're like, this is my service. So then number one, they dare to charge a high price. And of course, number two, it's I think what we can get to is to be able to charge a price, you must also get the kind of value.
Yes.
So if I can, let's say, for example, I scale businesses to, let's say, 10 million, 17 million, then of course, when I were to charge a price, I won't charge like, okay, a 3K a month kind of retainer because I know my value.
Yes.
But if I can create 10 million for you, then I wouldn't need to ask for a 3K a kind of month. So you must know the results that you can get, and then you will charge a price that you know you're worth. So a lot of it goes back to what do you think you're worth? That's one. Number two is, what is the results you can get? So the thing I see is, interestingly, a lot of people that I feel that they're undercharging is that they can get a lot of results.
Yes.
But then yet, because maybe they hang out with the wrong type of people, or their perception of themselves, or they are just looking at what is the market pricing, the standard market average, then they decide to go with average. But the thing is, the results they can get for people is above average, yet they charge average price.
Yes.
So ended up, it doesn't kind of match.
Okay, now Greg is not here. We can talk about Greg behind his back. But sometimes being married to him, I can see like at the start of working together, Greg's a clinical psychologist, right? And he studied for so long, like 10 years to get his, doctorate and all of that. And compared to normal coaches who, no disrespect intended, but it's a much shorter qualification to be a coach. You can just go for ICF course, and then within a number of months, you can get your qualifications, not like years and years like Greg. So like to be a clinical psychologist, I feel it's a lot higher barriers to entry than to be a executive coach. But yet the price points for therapy from a clinical side is like, let's say $300, $300, $350, something like that, $400. Whereas executive coaches who go for that few months of training, I see some of them charging $1,000 for coaching. And when I asked Greg about it, like, why are you charging so low when the quality of advice you give is so much more extensive, you are so much more well-trained, everything. Then he told me it's the sector. He said to me, like, in like mental health, you're supposed to be helping people in need. So it's like the culture to charge a low price. So for him then, when he came out into executive coaching, he has this mental hurdle.
Yes.
Yeah, which is very hard for him. So I have to slowly push, just like how you push me. I push him to raise his prices.
Yeah. So it's a very common thing. So especially because it's trainers and coaches, which, by the way, these are the best coaches to work with because they really care for the people. They really want to help the masses.
Yes.
Just that if they help the masses with that heart, with that volume, and with that price point, most of the time they end up burning out.
He had 35 clients at one point or something during COVID. And he was having like 8 to 10 appointments a day, emergency appointments at that. So I was like, you're going to burn out and then you're not going to be good to anyone.
Yeah. So actually, even for, let's say, Greg can charge higher. He can charge, let's say, 3,000, 5,000. Then you'll be like, how do I do that, right? Well, he charged, let's say, 300 or 1,000. that is to the standard as people. But let's say for example, but this kind of thing is it's basically going back to what we mentioned earlier. It's the identity, right?
Yes.
So if he's that coach, he's, let's say, this particular CEO, or he's the coach of, let's say, Mark Zuckerberg, to the PM,
Yes.
then when he tell people, I'm going to coach you, he's no longer saying, hey, you're not paying me for my 1 hour, because my this 1 hour I can be coaching the other CEO, the other PM,
I can give to Zuckerberg.
Yeah. So at that point in time, it's like, so this is what I'm worth, you see. So when people, why would they pay 3,000 or 5,000 to be coached by Greg, right?
Yeah.
It's not because of they want that association. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, my coach is the same coach that teaches this guy, you see. So immediately the identity shift. You are no longer just selling the feature like, I'm doing 1 hour of coaching or 1 hour of
My coach is the one that is coaches Zachary Young.
So with that, then you can also charge higher, which is what it can be done.
Yeah, it's so true. That is in psychology what we call social proof.
Yes.
Right?
So and for these kind of coaches, I need to tell them, you should do that. You should charge yourself 5,000, 10,000. You go serve all these very illustrious kind of clients. Some of them might allow you to say, some of them might not. So that's the tricky part. But anyway, once you serve them already, then because you will be so much, you don't have to work as hard.
Yes.
Then with that free time, you go help the masses. You
Yes.
go help them. You kind of be that Robin Hood. You earn from the rich, and then you go help the less. And these people, because you don't expect them to pay you a lot, or you don't expect them to pay you at all. You can do a mass kind of help, and you'll be so much happier. You can have more impact as well, and you can really help them without worrying that, hey, these people will not be able to feed your business, because most of your business is run by the other group of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, the ideal case is when your clients talk about you and they boast about you, and then you don't have to do your own marketing anymore. So anyway, I realized there's this very interesting phenomenon at the start of my career when I was working with corporates. A lot of them would be like, hey, don't post any photos of our events on your social media, because they'll be like, we need to run this past corp comms, and they will not be happy if you publish photographs of our company or whatever. So then after I became more of a public figure, now the companies will be offended if I don't post about them on my social media. They'll be like,
branded already.
In fact, they will be like, oh, can you post about us and feature all this on your social media? It's totally reversed, and it's all about association.
Yes.
Who wants to be associated with you?
Yes. So that's the whole identity thing. So
Yes.
with the identity thing, the amount you can price is, you can go higher, because it's a thing as compared to if you had sold previously, like, oh, this is the coaching I'll be teaching, this is the skills I'll be teaching, this is the hours I'll be putting in. Then there's always a limit to that. But once you go by that branded identity route, the sky's the limit in the price.
Everyone's going to be able to find information that they need so easily. There's no more competitive advantage of just being able to regurgitate information, but it's going to be all about what is your unique perspective, what is your personality, how you're going to deliver that message in a way that resonates with your audience, and your audience can vibe with you. So I really do feel like businesses in these days, right, it's so much more about authenticity and branding than it ever was before.
Yeah,
you see that?
I think especially with all the AI and all the deep seek and things like that, information is just out there. So you can't sell information by itself anymore.
Last time in our days, right? Okay, I'm not so old lah, but during my time, we buy those CDs of Tony Robbins or something, and then we listen to the Jack whatever or Tony Robbins, how to get rich or how to become an expert sort of thing. And because those days you can't find it anywhere, but now it's everywhere. I want to ask you about something that I get often from my corporate clients. A lot of times they ask me to do training to handle sales objections. Have you done this before?
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about what is handling sales objections or closing? Because these are some terms that may not be so familiar with our audience, but I think that it's very important as a life skill. Because when I started researching about, how do I handle objections or how do I actually close, right? this was a long time ago when I was working in sales. I had to like learn these skills. I actually realized that some of the principles are very applicable for everything in life, not just sales.
Okay. Handle objections. So usually, usual sales coaches, they will teach you like, okay, if the person says this, you say this from the script.
Yeah,
so
like,
they will have
they will have a script,
I need to think about it and things like that. I have a different take on this, okay, which is that because usually you have to do a pitch,
Yep.
and then after that you ask for the commitment, and then that's where the objections comes out, right? So my take on this is that chances are, if you have sales objection, it's because your pitch you didn't handle the issues in your pitch. That's why after that you have to deal with this. So in most of the time, if your pitch, let's say for example, one of the most common one is like what's the common sales objection?
I need to ask my
wife, my partner,
my partner.
right? So usually in the pitch, let's say you're pitching a product, you're something like that, right? Number one, you pitch it until like, we're looking for people who are very decisive. They make their own decisions. They don't let the people around them influence their decisions. So they don't let their friends, their superior, they know what they want. This is the kind of people we want. Right? They don't let just because their brothers and sisters or whatever say something and then they get wavered easily. We want those people who are very certain of what they want. For example,
yes.
So if you say this at the start,
you hit it off.
Yeah, you hit it off already. So I remove. There's no obstacle. I try to remove whatever that might come out. I anticipate what might come out and I remove it in the pitch.
Yes.
So a lot of it is, so when you position yourself that way, then they're at the back can't say that, hey, let me think about it. Because once they say that, they are disqualifying themselves from the type of person you're looking for. So you have to kind of reverse engineer what kind of questions you suspect they might come up with. And solve it there. So, example, give me another situation.
What happens if it doesn't work? If my life doesn't change after I attend this course, then do I get my money back?
Okay, so I'll say then the type of people I'm looking for. The type of people I'm looking for are the people who are driven to make things work, right? They're driven to make things work because they are not looking for guarantees. Because the truth is, nothing is guaranteed in this world. They are not looking for guarantees. They are not looking to be spoon-fed. They are the one that will drive it and make something work.
Right.
So if I say that this is the type of people I'm looking for, then at the back, if they say, what happens is done, I say, but the people I'm looking for will make it work. I solved that question here in the front already. So, of course, if I have the objection, and I know what product you're selling first, then I will be able to craft it better. But the idea of it is to kind of preemptively attack and remove that objection at the front first so that it doesn't pop up. Because if it up, then they actually disqualify themselves from it already. So I'm looking for people who will make things work. That's the type of people I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who can make their own decisions. They don't need to ask 5 people around them before they come to make a decision whether they want to change their life. They won't make 5 decisions asking 5 people around them before they decide whether they want to buy something.
Yes.
They won't make 5 decisions before they decide, ask 5 people around them before they decide whether they want to make a life-changing job switch, something like this. This is the kind of people I'm looking for. So if you belong to this, okay, come apply for this.
So would you, if they really say that, then would you say to them something like, well, maybe this is not the right fit for you? Would you ever say that?
Yes. So here's a very sick thing I feel about sales is that the more you reject people, the more people want. So I feel that a lot of people,
it's true though. It's
true.
true.
A lot of people, I always say 2 kind of things. Number one, I know the type of business you run by the type of clients you accept. That is one level of one tier to me. But I think a higher tier is I know the type of business you run by the people you reject. Yeah. So the thing is that, like, you think about it. Let's say you reject all the B students, C students, right? Then you get A students.
Yes.
But when you're at the Harvard level, right? They
Yes.
reject A students. They reject all the,
I see.
they reject all the A students because Harvard is so much higher. So
reject more people. Actually, reject.
So that's why I say when I tell people I reject the 50K sales, they were like,
Yes.
why is 50K? Then I'm like, yeah, because I'm worth that much and worth so much more.
Yes.
This guy, if you think you with your 50K, you can press me down and ask me to do this, come to your house, do this. I'm like, sorry, no. Then when I say that, then all my salespeople also like, wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're like, you do not control my life with 50K. Then same story for 100K. You do not buy my life. Because of that, more people want to work with you. They're like, you are really a high value person I want to work with.
It is so true, It's like what Warren Buffett said, right? The most successful people say no to just about everything.
Yes.
And very, very selective about like what they say yes to.
Completely right.
Which is why every time I say yes, if I say yes to working with you, that means I'm already saying like an infinite number of no,
Yes.
no, 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 no. That's why your yes is very, very precious.
I think to be fair, a lot of people, I mean, like, Richard Branson say yes to everything, right? That may work well at the start.
Yes, correct.
When your yes has very little opportunity cost.
Yes.
But as you start rising up the levels and all, you realize that your yes has a lot of opportunity cost behind it. And when that happens, you end up needing to say no more and more often. But sometimes it's people pleasing tendencies, or sometimes just not knowing the value, or not able to see that there are other opportunity costs behind. So sometimes we are too eager to say yes, and we end up closing a lot of doors to other things as well. Yeah.
Okay, so what are the most common mistakes that you see with entrepreneurs?
Okay, I would say two. Okay, the first common mistake is the entrepreneur is more like a solopreneur. Refuse to let go, must control one.
Yeah.
Okay, and which they'll have a good reason for it. They say, I tried hiring a team, I tried letting go, but the people they can't do their job properly, so I have to take it back and things like that.
Yes.
So which leads them to a second mistake, which is because I think a lot of them they never set a culture, like a high performance culture, or they never set a standard. So they kind of, when they hire, they anyhow hire. So they hire, let's say, not very good people. Then they delegate the work to them, and then the work is not done properly. Then they're like, I should just continue doing it myself as well.
Yes.
So this keeps repeating. Then they're like, but in order to scale and grow a business, you definitely need a team. I mean, one person only have 24 hours. If I have 10 people, I have 240 hours to do stuff, you see. So I need to hire great people so that I can delegate, so that I can do even more.
But actually, as a startup, it's very hard to hire great people at the start, Like, it's only when you grow more and more successful, then it's like the quality of people also grows along with your success.
So the way to go about it, because I had to scale a few startups, and same startup always have difficulty attracting talent. We are not Meta, we are not Microsoft. So one of the tricks I realized is try to get them when they are younger. Okay, so you either pay very well to attract very good people, or you are willing to train very well to get good people, and hopefully as you train them, you mentor them well, they feel in depth to you, and they continue to help and grow your business as well.
Right.
So I heard this thing that they say that every generation think the generation below them are strawberry generation.
That's true. That's true as well.
So probably then the Gen Z is the next generation after us. They were like not resilient. But then I believe my parents' generation probably think I'm not resilient as well. So I think the resilient may come in a different form or different ways.
Yeah.
And the rules have changed as well. So last time, our parents, they will work like don't know how many years in one job, right?
Yes.
Then maybe our generation is every 3 to 5 years or one. It will change. Then in this Gen Z, it's like every 1, 2 years,
Yes,
and then they'll change already. But then to be fair to them, technology has been changing so rapidly as well. So they are being adaptable. But I think it's a good reflection. One of the things I learned from one of the founders that I work with, right, is that when people leave us, right, then the question is, did we do our best to create an environment where they want to stay? Or we just we just do this, then if by the time you're done with us, then you go. So every time when someone leaves, I also reflect like, hey, did I do more to keep them? Did I create a culture or environment where people want to stay? And if you keep thinking about this way, I don't think Gen Zs, I don't think they're illogical. I think that if you have something very fun going on, they will stay. But chances are, if you continue to play by the old rules, you assume that they will stay. Well, as generation goes, we are speaking up more and more. We are more clear of what we want or what we don't want by looking at our previous generation. We're like, we don't want to burn out like our parents. We don't want to have no work life. It's so
That's
I think every
toxic.
generation is more clear of what they don't want.
Yes.
By looking at the previous, and they decide that what, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to leave. So every generation, the cycle becomes shorter, I would say.
So, Zach, what are your secret tips for hiring well?
Interestingly, I wouldn't even say what I'm looking for when I'm hiring, but first, what I must have when I hire. Okay, so the secret to hiring well, or able to even keep the hire that I hired, that is a good hire, right, is actually what I have, which is I need to fire well. It's a very interesting answer. Because I tell you, any good hire, any good performer, A performers, do not like to work with C performers. So if I I'm hiring one guy, and the guy is a good performer. He comes in and he sees that my team is like, not performing up to standard.
Yeah.
He will leave as well.
Right.
So for me, the trick to hiring well actually is to learn how to fire well or fire fast. And then when I have a team of very exciting A players, right? I can tell you the next hire is much easier to hire already. So that's the first thing. Then of course, when hiring the person that I'm looking for to hire, I've come to realize that I think is hunger. It's the one thing that I feel you have it or you don't have it. Schools can't teach it.
I know.
I don't know. I'm not sure whether can it be mentored, can it be trained.
Yes.
It's you have it or you don't have it. And when you have it, everything else will come along with it. But when you don't have it, no matter how good it is, how good your training is, there will always be something lacking. So I'll hire for hunger. But like all I mentioned, even before I hire that hungry person, I'll make sure I fire all the rest. I can tell you, if a hungry person comes in and then sees everyone else who's not hungry, then you're like, oh, I can get by with that as well. Sometimes we need to nurture and protect this hunger, this fire in the belly. Then when they come in, I can just get away with being average, and then you lose that hungry person as well. So I feel that the environment is very important. If you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, similar to you, I also believe in like two things. Is that I don't know whether you can teach is the nose and the stomach. So the stomach is the hunger piece. Are you hungry or not? Do you really have the fire in your belly? You're burning to make something out of your life and contribute in a way. But then the other thing is the nose. The nose is can you smell the opportunity? Can you sniff out there is something interesting over here, or there's some opportunity. Like I find that, there's certain people who are very good at sniffing the money, sniffing the opportunity, and they can see, oh, there's something interesting over here. There's some people are very clueless. They just like also don't know how to upsell, upsize, look for opportunity, make connection here. Yeah, but for me, when I'm interviewing, actually these days, I try to go more on references. Because I feel like a lot of people practice ChatGPT or, with their interviews, and they all come up with very similar or very good answers to interview questions these days. So it's a lot harder than last time where everyone's so blah, blah. Nowadays they do give some sort of acceptable answer. So I do think it's quite important to speak to the people who they've worked with, who can vouch for them. And if not many people can vouch for them, then it's also kind of like...
Red flag.
Yeah, it's a bit of a beige flag.
Yeah. I've come to realize there is no perfect interview process.
Yes, so true.
People will fall through the cracks. People will give you the perfect answer. So you will never... just like assuming that this guy passed it, this guy's the perfect candidate. You will never know until the first 3 months or 6 months probation is gone and it's over. And then you see how the person really work and handle things day to day. So because there's no perfect hiring process or interview process, then there must be a very good firing process. But a lot of people don't have the firing process. So end up and because the hiring process it can't be perfected. So they will have some gems and then they will have some not so good ones. And because they are unwilling to let go of the good ones fast enough, and then it stacks up and it makes the company very overweight. So
how do you fire someone?
My take is on our end, we need to give them a fair evaluation, fair training. So during the first 3 months, right? Usually people are like, oh, end of 3 months, then they'll give you a review. Oh, congratulations, you passed or you fail. Right. So during the first 3 months, I will try to do a review with them every 2 weeks, or have the line manager do a review with them. It sounds very fierce or very
hands-on.
Very hands-on. But the thing is that you see, my aim of the 2 weeks is to make sure you can pass. Because hiring constantly is very...
It's an investment.
Yeah, it's an investment. So I want you to
sides.
pass. So anything I have, I give you this open feedback, candor, right? I'll tell you, hey, this is how you need to improve. Then you do well, I'll tell you, you did this well. If you didn't do this well, I'll tell you didn't do this well. So because every 2 weeks, so in 3 months, that's about 6 times of free feedback. So by then, I know how you can iterate, how fast you can improve. And by then, I roughly know that, hey, I got a good hire that can grow and can learn. Very good. But then a lot of people, they don't do this frequent feedback, or they don't do it very candidly with candor. So at the end of it, they just tolerate it. Yeah, until, or maybe sometimes they say every month. Then, which means every month, think about it. If I only give you a feedback or review every month, which means I review you're not doing a good job. Then it's like, okay, the next one, you're not doing a good job. Then I'd rather you tell me often right up right
Yeah.
right up front that, hey, I'm not doing well, I can faster change and improve. So that's number one. Then number two is the ability to give good feedback. Because I mean, maybe Asians or maybe we are very nice. We don't dare to tell them what they're not good at. So we tolerate their incompetence. So we tolerate until end of 3 months. Say sorry, you fail your probation. So if you tell the person and the person was like, then because what happened was that, I mean, when I was younger and not so good at this whole firing thing, sometimes when we let the person go, then the person a bit shocked. Like, I'm like, I didn't know I wasn't doing a good job. So that made us realize that, hey, we should have more frequent reviews.
Yeah.
So then that was the first few times. Then after that was better. Then after that, there was some times when we let them go, decide the frequent reviews. They're like, hey, I didn't know I'm not doing a good job. Then we're like, why? Then when we went to look at the reviews of their line manager, then we realized the line manager too nice. Everything say, not doing well. We say,
improve.
This is good. But you can also do this. So to them, they're like, I'm doing good. Just that I can do better. But it's not, this is bad. So sometimes the best thing you can tell to a person is, hey, this is not good. And interestingly, the people that we have been very upfront with at the start, eventually they have shown, because I mean, to be fair, everyone's new, everyone's learning.
Yep.
So when we tell them upfront at the start, they're not doing well, after 2-3 months, they actually got better and they are one of the few best performers around. So I think people can work, you give them a chance and you give them honest feedback. But the art of giving feedback itself is a skill as well.
Yes.
So even if you hire good people, this is how you develop them into stars, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I often say kindness is clarity. And it's like, if you can be more clear with people, then it's actually the kind thing to do. Whereas, like, ironically, sometimes as Asians, we're like, we just let this one slide. Okay, I see you didn't do this. Never mind lah, whatever. My mother used to say, I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself. And I was like, what does it even mean? But like, actually, it's really bad because like we need to be much more proactive about giving feedback, as you mentioned. I want to ask you about like, what were some of the business books that you like?
Okay. Business books that are like three. I'll say three, but they're all the same thing. Oh, by the way, I wrote a business book,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
I'll pop it in the show
Amazon
notes.
bestseller.
Wow, I want to read it.
The Slingshot Maneuver. But
The
it's actually
slingshot maneuver.
Yeah, it's the Slingshot Maneuver. But it's actually, what happens is that because most business books are unfortunately quite boring ones. So I couldn't stand them. And then after a while reading all the business books, you realize that they are all talking about the same thing. In different, they have their own terms and all. So I kind of like came out with my own, simplified it.
Yes.
But anyway, 3 business books that I enjoyed the most. 3 or maybe 4. Quite similar vein. Number 1, the easiest to read, Traction. Traction, it talks about how to run a company, scale a company, Traction. Second book, which I did it unconsciously, only when I read it, then I was like, hey, I actually did this for my business, which is The Great Game of Business by Jack Stacks. Great Game of Business. So he turned his own company into a game as well, and everyone was very into it. Every employee was very involved.
Wow.
So yeah. So
I'm very fascinated. I've never heard of this one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It has scorecard and all.
Okay.
So and then he ended up running a consultancy on teaching people how to make sure that their business is fun to run. So Great Game of Business.
Okay.
The third one, this is the driest of all, but it's still useful. It's Scaling Up. Scaling Up, the purple book.
Is it the Vern
Harnish,
the Gazelle's Guide?
Yeah, Gazelle's Guide. Yeah. So it was Rockefeller Habits. He rewrote it and became Scaling Up.
That one was quite good. Not so boring lah, Zach.
But business books are quite dry lah. I mean, yeah. So Scaling Up. The last one, which I feel it takes a different kind of spin from all the previous 3, was 4 Disciplines of Execution. So this one is written by, I think, 3 authors combined together.
Okay.
But these 4 things, if you finish all these 4, roughly you realize that a lot of whatever companies you work with, things like they have morning huddles, all comes from one of these 4 books.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of things that many companies, MNCs, they are doing, it all came from these 4 books on how to run a business or how to scale a business.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this because like you selected some books that actually not many people have heard of, including your number 2 and number 4. I must admit I haven't heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but a lot of times when I ask people this question, they will give me the usual suspects of books like, Adam Grant or Simon Sinek or whatever, this and that. So I really must thank you for bringing a much more diverse...
Been doing this thing since young because I really love business, like I mentioned. So yeah.
Yes. Anything else you're working on that you're excited on that you want to share with our audience?
So recently I've been doing more personal branding based on because of your good advice. So I've been drinking tea at this place, and this person interestingly told me to launch a tea brand with her. So the owner of the tea shop. So I'm looking to launch this super expensive premium tea that is put into Royal Selangor pewter cans. So it's like sold at $1,000+ kind of tea. It's not your normal TW3 tea. Yeah. It's really like, I mean, I must practice what I preach, right? Premium thing is the kind of thing you give to important people.
So it's the Empress. Is this the Empress bush tea?
Yeah, similar. So the tea is like come from a 1,000-year bush. This tea is one of the famous tea leaf. One of the famous for bushes. Things like that. So that's my new project that I'm coming up with. So yeah, when it launches, I might even pass you some tea to drink.
Oh my God.
Yes.
No, I must buy it. You know what they say? Friends pay full price.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Zach, you can follow him on Instagram. He does a lot of bite-sized reels of him drinking tea and like sharing his advice. And like I always learn something when I watch your reels as well. Yeah, but thanks so much for coming on the Confident Growth podcast to share wisdom with me. I really could have talked for a very long time. And I have so many questions that maybe I'm sure our audience has as well. And hope to see you around here.
Sure, we can drink more tea.
Yes, definitely. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching Confident Growth with our very wise, energetic, and entertaining guest, Zachary Young. And I'll drop the links to where you can find him in the show notes. And do share, follow our podcast, and also check Zach out on Instagram. See you. Bye.